My name is Andrew, and I work for the Oregon Community Food Systems Network. And I am the project manager for the Disaster Resilience Grant Program. And we're really excited to have you all here today to learn about our program that is now live. It went live on January 1st. And I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to do a bit of a slideshow for you all. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Very good. So just some details on what we're going to do today. We're recording this, so it's going to be up on our website. So folks who are unable to join us at this moment will have this resource. I've got Brittany here today. Brittany is helping us with from Friends of Family Farmers, who've been amazing with this process, helping the grant program, the administration, creation, and support for all the farmers. And so Brittany's here. Just wanted to have give a big old thank you to everyone who's been involved. I work for the Oregon Community Food Systems Network, which is a statewide nonprofit that supports organizations across the state who work in food systems, from food access to food systems in the legislature to supporting producers. And we have a really awesome group of organizations and agencies who are in Oregon Center for Small Farms and Community Food Systems, all part of this network. And everyone's been really awesome about getting this program up and running and supporting it in the legislature. And also want to give a huge thank you to the Oregon legislature, and specifically Rep. Helms' office, who is working closely with us and our partners to get this grant funded and off the ground. So some ground rules. Please stay on mute for this presentation. We'll have chance for questions at the end of the presentation. And I'm going to go through a slideshow giving everyone details on the program. And then I'm going to show everyone our website that is live now with so I can kind of walk through those specific materials with everybody. So we're going to get started. Like I said, the website is now live with all the details. The grant application is open. We are accepting applications at this time. You can find that all at ocfsn.org. And just at the top of the homepage, you can find the drop down, but it's also, here's the direct link. All of our materials are translated into Spanish, can be found at that link there. So overview, this is a grant program. The funding for these grants is for on-farm disaster resilience projects and plans. So that's the overview of this. Is the overarching need for purpose of this funding is for disaster resilient projects and plans on your farms. To give you an overview of where this money is coming from and some background, we have been awarded $2.65 million over 2 years from the Oregon legislature. This is Oregon state funding that came through the 2023 legislative session. This is being managed, the grant is being managed by the Oregon Community Food Systems Network. And we are contracting with Friends of Family Farmers to do direct support for producers and administration of the grant. And also we've been contracting with many other folks to translate the entire program into Spanish on our website, do grant review. So we have contractors team, folks who are working with directly with farming communities across the state, doing outreach for this. And then also we have advisor grant farmer and rancher advisory committee who looked at our initial plans for this grant and gave comments and improved what we were working on, or what we were creating here to be most accessible and the most benefit to small producers across the state. This program builds off of the successful 2022 Farmer and Rancher Relief Program that was also state funded, which provided relief funding for small farmers who were impacted by natural disasters in 2021 and who had losses, and those farmers who were not eligible for the Oregon Disaster Assistance Program. So we were successful in awarding funding to producers who lost funding that year, and went back to the legislature and got this resilience funding to be more proactive, to support farmers to be more resilient to future climate disasters instead of just focusing on losses. Like I said, we had an expert and farmer advised advisory group advising on this program. We also have a long list of potential resilience strategies and projects that are on our website and in the materials to look through and get ideas for what you'd like to apply for. There are two funding pools. There's a small grants pool and a large grants pool. They're similar in there, but they're different. The small is $1,000 to $9,999. The large grants is $10,000 to $50,000. There are more larger grants, or there are more smaller grants to get money to as many farms as possible. There will be fewer larger grants, but we wanted to be able to make a few larger grants to have a larger resilience impact on some farms. The application process is a little different for each of these funding pools. There's more detailed questions for the large grants in order to do our due diligence on granting out those larger amounts of money. And like I said, all the materials are translated into Spanish on our website. Some of the goals of the program, sorry for the wall of text here, but we wanted to make this as an accessible grant program as possible. That being really working closely with our advisory committee to just ask the questions we need to get this funding out the door, make it as simple and as accessible as possible. This grant prioritizes small and historically underserved farmers and ranchers throughout Oregon. We also are prioritizing farmers who are in Oregon counties that have been most impacted by drought, utilizing the drought declarations, governor's drought declarations from 2022 and 2023. We're prioritizing veteran farmers. We're doing direct outreach to historically underserved farmers through our outreach team, and we are providing direct support to grant applicants to navigate challenges with the application process, both through our outreach team and through our internal team who's managing this grant. We have our contact grants at ocfsn.org, and you'll see that at the end of this slideshow. We're doing some robust reporting and testimonial gathering at the end in order to report on this project and to go back to the legislature and say, hey, we were really successful. This grant really meant a lot and changed the resilience impact on farms. And we want to keep this going. So that we need good reporting and testimonials to make that happen, to keep this program going and to get more funding to this in the future. So our timeline for round one, we're doing 2 rounds, one in 2024 and one in 2025. This current round is open. Our applications opened on January 1st. They are open through March 1st. That's 2 months to allow for folks to think about their projects, review the application materials, and apply. We will then, through March, have all the applications go through our grant review committee to review against our rubric and to then recommend awards. We are expecting funds to be delivered no later by the end of April. So funding can be in farmers' hands. We wanted it to be in your hands before the beginning of the 2024 season, growing season. We know that April date is late, but it was as quick as we could at the turnaround of getting the funding and getting awarded in August and the creation of the program. So this is as quick as we can turn it around, but we also have increased the timeline for implementation. So you have, if you are awarded in 2024, you have all through this season and the winter season to implement your projects if needed. Grant, the round 2, 2025, this all could change depending on what we learned from the first round, but it's going to be similar at this moment as to 2024. But like I said, that could totally change. And we'll keep folks up to date if there's any updates on that second round. So here's some just details on the funding, some of the requirements and some of the stipulations. Applicants can only apply for one of the granting pools, small or large. You're not eligible to apply for both grants in one round. If you receive a grant in 2024, you will not eligible to apply in 2025. You may be awarded partial funding. We do expect to get many more applications and funding requests than we have funding available. And so we will be having to make hard decisions on who gets funding and who doesn't. That's why we have a really detailed rubric for the grant review committee, which I'll share with you all, which is on our website. But that being said, we may have to make hard decisions to award partial funding to get as much money to as many farmers as possible. There's no requirement for matching funding for this grant, so you don't have to bring funding in. There's no matching for this. And you will be receiving upfront payment. You don't have to purchase whatever you're requesting funding for and then submit receipts. You'll get funding upfront. Grants must directly support the purpose of improving small farm disaster resilience. And there's lots of questions in the application around this. And for reporting purposes, we'll be requesting explanation of what you spent your money on and some pictures of what it was to ensure that the funding was spent for this purpose. Also, this funding may be used for cost share for federal conservation or other funding, and we encourage folks, if you're interested in that and using this as cost share or some sort of match, to contact NRCS or others to see how that would work. Okay, so qualifications and preferences. The two requirements for this grant, in order to apply, you must be actively farming and derive farm income from your farm, and you must be actively engaged in the day-to-day operations of your farm, and you must be running a small farm. Small farms for this grant are determined by this number, $350,000 in farm income from line 2 of your Schedule F. This is your cost of goods sold, produced goods sold. So and there's details on that in all the materials. You can look at that, and we're happy to answer questions around Schedule Fs if you have them, if you send those to our website or in our email, grants@ocfsn.org. So basically, you must have a farm, you must be a small farm in order to be eligible to apply. Pretty basic and broad. We just don't want larger farms. This is specifically the purpose for this is to support smaller farms in the food system. So those are the requirements there. We are prioritizing through our rubric, farms that are owned by BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, or persons of color, drought impacted, veterans, or farmers in environmental justice communities, which are all defined in the materials, all get preference points for this grant. The grant review committee will be reviewing your budget. We request that you provide, we have a budget template on the website that you'd be completing when we ask you to provide some description and we'll be answering questions at the end. I'm not really checking the chat. Any really specific questions around your farm, we can answer those directly through our grants@ocfsn.org. So budget review, we have the budget template we request folks to use, and we need you to describe just briefly what you're requesting funding for and how and then your resilience strategy impact. You'll be asked questions about how this request is improving your on-farm disaster resilience. And then reporting requirements, I mentioned the description and photos. So here's our rubric. You can go into this in detail on the website, but we've got this number 3, BIPOC, immigrant, refugee, trans and gender nonconforming individuals, and single caregivers get some preference. Farms that prioritize food and seed production over other activities get some priority points. So if you're an education farm and you do more education than you do food production and seed production, you wouldn't get those extra points. If you produce culturally significant food for BIPOC and immigrant refugee communities, you get some points. Environmental justice community is a broad category. This includes farms that are in lower income communities, rural communities. If you're in those categories, you would get points. Veteran farmers, and then this drought declaration, and we provide a link on the website to that to see if one of your county that you're located in has had a drought declaration in 2022 or 2023. Whoops. So our categories for resilience strategies: irrigation and water efficiency, shading and cooling, soil health management, ecosystem management, crop management, equipment purchase, rental, or refurbishment, and on-farm planning, monitoring, and research. And those can be all found on the website. And we have a really long list that was informed by extension researchers and our broad community of all these different projects that could be eligible. And you can also apply for something that's not on the list, and we just request that you explain how that will have a positive resilience impact on your farm. And that's so we're not saying that these are the only things that you can apply for, but we give a really broad list. Our Farmer Advisory Committee, vegetable seed and livestock producers from across the state advised on this grant program. We had a contracted advisory committee that, like I said, we had an initial draft and they tore it apart, really had some really good critiques about this program. And we took those into to heart, and we made a lot of changes to our initial draft of this program. And I think we have a stronger grant program because of those advisors. We also had experts from OSU Small Farms Program and Oregon Climate and Agricultural Network advising on this. Okay, and I mentioned, again, maybe we can throw it in the chat. grants@ocfsn.org is where you can contact our team, ask any questions. So this is the website, ocfsn.org, Disaster Resilience Grant. You can find it if you just go to ocfsn.org in the top right-hand corner. We have some background around the program. We have this list of projects that I just went over. Here's a list that you can link to. I wanted to go through these grant materials. So all the materials you can find here in these this drop-down menu. We have this grant program overview document. That is this document here. This is just for the top line details about the grant program. You can look at that to look at the what I just went through with this presentation. But if you need to share just kind of like a 2-page document with anyone who's interested, you can find that there. Grant guidelines. This is going to be the program. Everything about the program that you have questions about will be in detail here. It's the grant guidelines document and request for proposals. And we have this table of contents, and it starts with details, lots of what I just went over, and then more details into the budget, reporting, eligibility, preference criteria, and scoring rubrics, and then the potential farm resilience strategies list, and then the application form. In this document and in a separate document, we have all the questions for the application form written out here, so you can review the entire application before you start submitting online. So you can actually take this document here, application questions, and open that in a Word document, and you can write your questions in, your answers to the questions here, and be prepared to just copy and paste into the application as you're going through the process. Then we also have the budget template here for download. It's in a spreadsheet format. That's also at the bottom of this grant guidelines document. Sorry to be scrolling all fast, but here's the template. This is what the budget looks like. We have categories for materials, equipment, professional service, labor, and then other costs that we maybe didn't think of that you have requesting for. We require that you provide a short description of the cost. So say you're asking for some irrigation materials, would like to know specifically maybe a count of what you're asking for, or any description there that would provide details for the grant review committee to understand what you're asking for. Same goes with professional services and labor. We request that you put in your hours and number of hours in the rate into the description, so we know it's kind of an idea of what you're asking for, how long it will take in that, so we can see if that is seems reasonable. And then we also have a frequently asked questions document, which answers any questions that we anticipated would be asked of the program. So you can look at that before emailing grants@ocfsn.org, and hopefully we can answer your questions there. Funding details, I went through this already. This is what I went through in the spreadsheet. There's a little bit more details on the different categories. Timeline, went through that. Here's the scoring rubric. You can look at that in detail on the website, and then contact. And we also have an impact report from last year's grant, so you can see what was done and how folks were impacted there or benefited from that funding. So the application is live, and it can be found here at this link. You just click apply now, and it will open up our application. And this is a form that you will fill out. You can't move on to the next page until you've filled out the required sections in this. So that's why we give you all those questions in advance, so you're not going through this blind to start, but you can review all the questions and be ready. In order to see this in Spanish, you can go to the top right hand corner and there's a Spanish translated application. Then we have grant review committee members doing that. And that's all I have for details. Let's see here.
Andrew, can I add something really quick?
Please do.
I highly suggest everybody looks at the scoring rubric before doing your application. We are scoring on accuracy, clearness, and financially sound templates. So we want to make sure that we have all the information, it's accurate, it's very clear, and it's really laid out for us. So we have everything that we need to give you the top scores that we can.
Thank you. That's really important. Yeah, we recommend that you really go through all the materials before starting your application. We do have a team who reviews, and we'll be asking questions if we see any inconsistencies or issues with your application, but we would love to do that. The application does save as you go. You do not have to fill it out in one sitting, but I do recommend that you be prepared for any, we can't control everyone's individual circumstance dealing with this application form. And so saving your questions beforehand could potentially save some issues. So that's what we recommend. We want to thank everyone for participating and for joining this presentation, and we will have this up on the website. And once again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, grants@ocfsn.org. And we'll get right to you. We have several people following that email and able to answer questions. And yeah, we really are excited to offer this opportunity and to help make your operations more climate resilient and disaster resilient. And look forward to continuing this work with you all in the future. And thank you all much for the important work that you do. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have.